let's just go over it real quick. So first thing we did was that we went over the console, simply what it was. We talked about what a single line code comment looks like. Let me change that. It's comment. Comment. Okay, then this is how you write a multi-line comment. We went over the console. Console basically just prints out stuff in the console that we use in the browser. And again, we talked about the purpose of using the console in the browser, and that was
to test
and debug our code.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we talked about variables. We talked about how they are basically just buckets, or you can think of them as containers that hold your data. That data can be stored in the form of strings, numbers, booleans, nulls, identified, and symbols. Those are the primitive types, which is right over here. And then we talked about reference types, which were objects, object literals, arrays, functions, dates, and anything else of value that we can store. So we talked about those. We talked about type conversion, how we can convert strings into numbers and numbers into strings. You guys remember that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we talked about numbers and the different things that we can do, like adding, subtracting, and using the modulus for finding the remainder. We talked about some built-in math objects like pi, e. We talked about rounding, ceiling and flooring numbers using square roots, absolute values. We talked about if we have an array, how can we find the minimum or the max value. We went over the random method, which basically generates a random number, and then we talked about how we can, contain it within certain parameters, like if we want it from 0 to 20 or whatever. So we went a little bit into that. Then we looked at string methods, where we created some variables, and we used them to concatenate. We saw the append type, where we basically add on to a variable. We learned how to escape certain quotes. We went over the length property, the concat method. We talked about changing cases to uppercase, lowercase, going through arrays, going through objects, finding indexes of certain characters. We went through all of that. We talked about splitting, and we also did this little exercise where we had a string of different values, you can say, and we split them up into an array, right? Okay. So with that being said, let's actually get into some more fundamentals of JavaScript.
Real quick.
Yes.
For that random, this is going back real quick. You had a random number generator. Could you also have a random word selector if you gave it what words to randomly select from?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. That would be used in something like a game.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Right, like a word game or something, where like you wanted to, and then what you can do is that you can even set up conditions where it's like, oh, this letter has already been repeated, do not repeat it again. So you can do that too. And you can create multiple conditions, and you're gonna learn. It's gonna make a lot more sense because once we start going over some more, like logical operators that you guys are gonna learn, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna learn if statements. You guys remember if statements, if else, else if.
Yeah.
We're gonna go over loops, while loops, do while loops, all that good stuff. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. Okay, so now we're gonna go over something called template literals. Okay, so let's actually create a file. And let's see, this is the 7 topic, so we'll call this 07 template.
Should we use the same HTML for the time being?
Yes. Use the same one. You're working in the same sandbox. Okay? We're working in the same sandbox, same folder where we left off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to comment this out. Script, I'm going to say src. And what do we call it? 07 template literals. Save. Let me close. Yes. And I'm going to do a quick alert just to make sure that this page is working. And if I save and leave that alert, that's working. Okay, this is something that you guys are going to be using quite a lot. And basically the concept of template literals. Let me actually show you how template literals were done before ES6. when we were using the older version of JavaScript. The reason why I want to show you that is because this is a relatively new feature, and if you are interviewed on it, they might actually ask you to do it the old way just to see if you have a grasp of very basic vanilla JavaScript. So basically what template literals are, it's a way of including HTML inside your JavaScript. And I'll show you the application of it. Just make sure you write that down. Including HTML inside, sorry, my finger is still hurting, inside our JS. I'll just say JS. Now we're going to be doing this a lot of times where we'll be inserting HTML from our JavaScript. So for example, when we have to fetch something using Ajax, I know you guys don't know anything about that yet, but when we do want to fetch something from a server, and we want to put an unordered list or table with some dynamic data, we're going to have to do that through JavaScript. So we'll have to create some kind of a string with the HTML, and then with that dynamic data so that you can insert the data that you want. So let's actually see it in action, the old way of doing this, okay? So if I wanted to insert some HTML directly inside my JavaScript, what I would have to do is that I would have to create a variable. So let's actually start. I'm trying to think. Let's first create our output. So, and don't worry about the syntax of the output right now. You guys are going to learn more about it in detail. But it's document.body.inner HTML equals, and we'll just call this, we're creating a variable technically, we'll just call this HTML, okay? So that's our output. Now right above it, we'll start out by creating a template string, how it used to be created back in the day. So then I'm going to take HTML, and then first I would do single quotes, okay? Next, let's say that I want a UL, so let's create a UL. Okay, and inside that UL, see how annoying this is getting? I'm gonna have to create an li. Let me type that out, and then close bracket li. Now I'm thinking I really don't want to put you guys through this. Let's say name, right? That's what that's gonna be. I'll put a space and close a bracket over here. Then plus name, and then open brackets and close brackets. And is that, no, I need to put a plus sign here. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm not gonna do any more. I was gonna do a whole list, but I'm not gonna. Let me actually create the name variable up over here. So we'll say const name equals John. Okay, you guys see what's going on so far, right? We created this variable called John, its name, and I'm creating an HTML variable that basically spits out this HTML. So it's basically just a list that's going to return me the name, okay? So if I hit save, see what happened over here? It returned me the name, John. Actually, what I should have done was just leave it like this. There you go. See that? So using just JavaScript, I printed something in my HTML. Now, a much cleaner way would be of doing this. Let's just do it. HTML equals, we can do something like this where we can open quotes and then do UL, close that, and then a plus sign, come down, tab it a little bit. UL, name, let's do age this time, age, and age. And I'm doing this on purpose so you guys can type it out just so you can get used to it. Oh no, it's supposed to be an li. Oops. Nobody caught me either, huh?
I thought needed to be.
Safad was busy typing, sorry. Safad was busy.
Let me just repeat this.
Okay.
Say this one is job. Let's call this job. city, just call this city. Oh, and then we need a closing UL, right? So okay, this is getting crazy, I know, but this is the whole point. This is the reason why I'm demonstrating this, okay? So this is how back in the day you would have to insert HTML. So let me actually create these other guys too. Const age, we'll say age is 30. Const job, we'll say he's a developer. And city, oops, const city, say Chicago. And you can say whatever you want. So now if I save this, you'll see that HTML is now replaced with H30 developer Chicago. So it looks a little bit cleaner, right? Instead of just having just one long line that just goes forever. Now here comes template strings. Okay? So with template strings, all you need, so now with template strings using ES6, using backticks, and the backticks are the little squiggly reverse quotes that are next to your number 1 on your keyboard. Okay, do you see the number 1 on your keyboard? Left to it, there's a button that's called backticks. This one, okay, which basically look like
dash?
Yeah, the squiggly dash.
yeah. Okay, these are called backticks. With template strings, we can do basically what we were trying to do earlier, in a much easier way using backticks and the $sign. And I will show you how. Let me just also make a note, it's much cleaner and easy to write. Easy to write. Okay, so let's see that in action. So let's do HTML equals, now I'm going to start with backticks, okay? And I'm just going to come down to the next line. I'm going to do a UL, come down to the next line. I can do an LI, and then close LI. Okay, and then in here I can type name, and then start with a $sign, open curly braces, and then inside the braces just say name, which is coming from over here. Okay. Let me also close this. Now if I hit save, name job. Now I'm going to repeat these and do the other ones as well. So the other one was age. I'm just going to change that to age. Now again, this is just basically the variable, right? This John, this name, is coming from here. If I change this to Nabil, for those of you who are still confused as to how variables work, look at that, it changed that. Okay? And it's only printing the rest of it because I haven't changed the rest of it over here. So if I change this to city and change this to, whoops, city, there you go, city Chicago. If I change this to job.
Is this just a different way of doing it? Because didn't we just do that on top before we erased everything?
Yeah.
No, I didn't erase it. It's all right there. I'm just basically showing you the new way of doing it because this is just the new way of doing it.
Okay.
Okay? This was the old way of doing it, how to include HTML using
Right.
JavaScript.
Right.
This is the new way of doing it. This is the way that you should do it now. And moving forward, any exercise that we work on, this is how we're going to do it.
Okay.
Okay? And then actually, since I don't have any more variables, I can even do something like, I can even do like a mathematical operation inside. So like when I basically create the $sign and I open the curly braces, that's basically JavaScript that I can run inside of the HTML that I'm creating. So I can even do a simple mathematical operation like 4 plus 4, like that, watch. And if I hit save, it gives me 8. See that? what I can do is that I can even return a function, which you guys are going to learn about soon. But let me just give you a little taste of what a function looks like. I can do $, open curly braces, and then I'll run a function called hello. And I can define the function right over here, so I can say function hello is going to return hello. Okay, so now if I run this, hello. Okay, so I can even run functions using template strings. Does anybody here know what a ternary operator is? So basically, it's pretty simple, and we're gonna go over this in detail too. But let me just give you a taste, and also to prove that we can run JavaScript inside our HTML using template strings. We can do a very simple condition, and basically a conditional where I can set a condition like if the age is greater than 30, return over 30. And if they're not over 30, then repeat, then just say under 30. Okay? So it's saying, hey, you're under 30. Because he's right at 30. So if I was to change this to 32, it would say you're over 30. And that's pretty much all there is to template strings. By the way, did everybody get the updated slides? Yeah, I didn't change anything that was already there. I just added more to it.
Why is there 2 brackets after hello?
That's just how you run a function. We haven't gotten into that yet. I was just showing you that we can run a function. See, okay, so like I know this can be a little confusing. The thing about JavaScript is that there are so many moving parts that are working at the same time. It's really hard for really anybody to teach JavaScript because there's no one place to start. There's no like, hey, here's the ABCs and here's how they're going to be relevant. They're not going to be relevant. You know, like you guys remember when I was showing you the console and I was already teaching you about objects and arrays, and we haven't even gotten into that yet. But you guys at least still have exposure to what objects and arrays are now, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure I'm not talking to myself, that everybody's at least somewhat on the same page. Okay, so we're done with template literals here. Now we're going to get into arrays. Okay. All right, let's get moving, guys. So now we're going to get into arrays. So let's create one called, let's see, we're on 8 now. So 08, say arrays underscore methods. So we're going to learn arrays, and we're going to learn different array methods. .js. All right, so come back in my HTML, comment out the old script, insert new one. So we'll start by src, and we called it what? 08 arrays. Do my quotes. There we go. Okay. Get rid of this over here, run an alert just to make sure that we're good. And we're good. Okay. Now, for those of you who are computer science majors or engineering majors, already know of what arrays are. They're pretty much used widely throughout every programming language. And they are a very important part of many programming languages that allow us to store multiple values inside one variable. They can be mutated, they can be iterated through, meaning looped through, and they can be used in really some really complex algorithms. We can sort them in multiple ways. We can splice them. We can dice them. We can cut them. We can paste them. We can do multiple things. We can break them up into separate pieces. We can literally manipulate them how we want. And I'm going to make sure that we go through as many of those methods as possible just so you guys have everything in your arsenal in the future when you're working with arrays, which you're going to be working with a lot. So let's actually start out by creating some arrays. And let's create one with numbers. Okay, so we'll const numbers. Okay, and do you guys remember how to create arrays?
Yes.
Brackets, okay, the flat ones,
No.
okay? You end it with a semicolon, and inside you can have values. They can be numbers, they can be strings, they can be any of the data types. We can even nest arrays inside other arrays. But since over here we're just working with numbers, we'll just start creating some at random. Let's do 43, 56, and they're all separated by commas. You don't need spaces after them, but I'll just do it just so it looks a little neat and clean. I don't know, 33, 23, 44, 36, 5. Okay, this is how we create an array. There's also another way of creating an array. Actually, I'll just make a comment. This is the conventional method. Okay, then there's another way of creating an array using what's called the array constructor or an array object. And we'll just make another one with numbers. We'll call it const numbers2. And you do that by saying new array. And in brackets, or sorry, in parentheses, not brackets, sorry. Here's how you create another array. So you can do 22, 45, 12, 87. These are all random numbers. You can put your own. Okay? And this is basically how you create an array. Okay? So this is using the array constructor, also called array object. Okay, this right here, this portion, new array by itself, new array. This is basically what that is. I'll put, there you go. This is the syntax. Okay, but we're really not going to be doing this. We're just going to be creating them the conventional way. It's easier. It's much better. Okay. Then what we can do is that we can also create an array of strings. So let's create an array of fruits, I suppose. Again, open them with flat brackets, and then in quotes, because this is going to be a string, we'll say apple, banana, orange,
Kiwi.
and pears. How about that?
It's something exotic.
Okay, then we can also have, as I mentioned, we can have an array with multiple different types of data types. So let's say we'll call this mixed array. And let's say 22. Then we have a string. We can even have a Boolean true. We can have undefined. Put that. We can put a null. I can even put an object. So where I can have a key value pair where A has a value of 1 and B has a value of, let's make it a string, 2. There. Separate that by comma. We can even put a function or a method inside, like a new date. So like if we wanted an array to print a date, we can say new date. If you guys remember that, we did this, right? You guys remember? Okay.
Yeah.
Where I can just save it. Now, if I should have been consoling this stuff just so you guys can see it. Console.log. So let's first see numbers. Okay. So here's numbers that we created right over here. As you can see, it's printing it out in the console. Okay. Then I can also console.log the other numbers variable that we created using the array constructor. So you can see that prints out 2. Then we created, here, let me just, then we also created one called fruits, right? And you'll see that it'll print out fruits. And if I click on this,
Is that what?
and then we also did the mixed array, and then you'll see how that one looks like. All right, look at that. So I've got my 7 items in here. I'm going to come down, and you'll see here I have my number, my string, true, undefined, null. Here, look, it gives me an object. I can open this up, and I can see that these are key pair values. Okay. Then it also prints me the date as well. Okay. With all the other methods that it comes with, like getting the date, getting the specific day, getting the full year, the hours, milliseconds, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Okay, so all that's there. Okay, all that's there. We can use it, we can manipulate it, we can do whatever we want with it. Okay? So I'm going to comment these consoles out because we're going to move forward. I don't want this printing the whole time. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to start by I'm defining my val variable, so let's do let val, and then we'll initialize that. Okay. Then I need an output of some kind, so let's actually do, it's going to be my output, console.log val. Okay. The first thing that I'm going to teach you guys is how we can get the length of your array. So if I start with val, let's work with numbers. So I want to know how many items are inside my numbers array, which is this one right here. Okay. All I do is I do val numbers dot length. Okay. And then with a semicolon, if I save, it'll show me that there are 7 items inside my array. Okay, so let me actually comment that out so you guys can actually see get array length. Now what we can do is that we can check, there's actually a way of finding out if something is actually an array. So let's do val equals array dot is array, and if I type in numbers and if I hit save, guess what it's going to give me? True, because we're saying, hey, please tell me if this variable called numbers, if it's an array. Okay, so again, if I put in something like hello and save, it'll tell me that it's false. Okay, then how do we get a single value from an array? So get a single value, and let's do val equals, now there are 7 items in there, right? So if I do numbers and if I open up the brackets like this, and let's say that I want the 3rd index. So remember, it's going to start at 0, 1, 2, 3. So technically it's going to be the 4th item visually looking at it, but technically it's the 3rd index. So if I save, and it gives me 23. So if I go back, make sure 0, 1, 2, 3, and it did give me 23. Okay, so that's how you get a single value. Now again, for those who don't know, who are confused, why is it giving me 23 and not 3rd? Because even though this is a 3rd one, well, that's because in computer science, everything is counted at an index number, so everything is 0 based and it starts at 0. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moving forward. Yeah. So even though when we did the numbers.length and it printed us 7, well, yeah, there are 7 items in here, but the 7th item is at the 6th index because it's starting at 0. Okay? Okay. Now the next one, insert into array. So we can do val. Actually, no, we don't need to do val. Let's do numbers, open curly brackets, and let's say that I want to change the 2nd index to 100. Sorry, not curly, just the flat brackets. Okay. So right now the 2nd index is 33, and we're changing it to 100. So if I save, you don't see anything now, but if I do numbers, you'll see that 33 has been changed to 100.
Or you could write in val equals numbers 2, and it'll tell you the value is 100, right?
Yeah. But I don't want to do that because I'm just doing this as a demonstration. I don't want it to actually change it. Because, yeah, because like once I go back to using val, it'll just reset, you know, to where it's at. Okay. Then what we can also do is that we can find the index of a certain value. So val equals numbers, and the method is dot index of. Okay. And let's say that we want the index number of 36, for example, right? That's in our array. So if I do 36 and if I save, it'll show me that it's index number 5.
Oh, the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around. Okay. So this is just basically different ways of like navigating around the array. Just, you know, like kind of like seeing what the length is. You want to check if it's, you know, actual array or not. You know, how do I get a single value using the index? How do I add a number using the index, and how do I actually use the index to find the value or whatever. You know, but basically just going back and forth. Okay, so that's just basically how you do that. Now, let's actually move on to mutating the arrays. So let's first start out by going over how we add onto the front of an array.
Oh, equally.
So we're going to be working with our numbers array, same one. So we'll just do numbers dot unshift, and in parentheses I can just put in any number. So let's say 120. Okay, save. Now if I check out my numbers array, you'll see that 120 has been added in front of 43. Okay, and it's even showing me that there's 8 items in the array now. This is how we add something to the front of an array, using numbers.unshift, and then you put whatever value in there that you want. Okay, now if I want to take off from the front, we do numbers.shift, and that's it. So if I save, okay, like it pops back out. Let me refresh this.
What was the first one? Shift or unshift?
First one was unshift.
First one was unshift, as you can see right over here. To add onto the front of an array, to take off from the front of an array, we just do numbers.shift. Bottom. Hey guys, on your output over here, make sure that you console.log numbers too. I don't know if you guys missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's add onto the end numbers.push. And let's say I want to put 250. I'm going to save, come back, and you'll see 250 is added to the end. Okay?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of. We just briefly had gone through it when I was demonstrating something. Now to take off from end, numbers.pop, and parentheses. If I hit save, it takes it back out.
Pop, huh?
Yep. So remember, when you're working with the front of an array, it's unshift and shift. Okay, now why unshift is adding it and shift is taking it off, I don't know. That's what the JavaScript community decided, and that's how they were gonna, name the methods. These are built-in methods, and these are basically how they work. Okay, when you're working with the end of the array, it's push and pop. Okay, push is to add a number. I mean, that makes sense, right? You're pushing something on toward, at the end, and then pop, you're popping it off the end. So push and pop. Okay. Now, what we can also do is that we can splice values. Okay, now I'm just going to demonstrate this and watch what happens. Numbers.splice. Then in my parentheses, what I'm going to do is that my first parameter is going to be where I want to start, comma, my second parameter is where I want to end, so I'll say 3. Now basically what this is going to do is that the parameters are basically just where I want to start and where I want to finish. And so what it means is that I want to basically take off from index 1 to 3.
So
Okay.
5623 is going to be gone.
Watch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Cool, right? Okay. I'm going to give you like 5 seconds to just soak that in. Now there's another method to reverse an array. To reverse an array, it's pretty simple. All you do is numbers.reverse.
So it puts the order in reverse.
Yep. That's it. Basically, as it exists at the current moment, it'll just reverse it. That's what it does.
So the splice will remain, and it'll be 43,
Just
44,
reverse
36, 5.
Yeah, because we're just basically working on top of what we've already done.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what we can do is that we can actually even concatenate arrays. So concatenate arrays. And we'll concatenate the current one that we have with numbers to the one we created, the new array, using the array constructor. So we'll just concatenate it with that. So let's see, what would I do? Val. So what we want to do is that we want to add that one onto this. So this is numbers, and the method is called concat, and we went through this. If you guys remember, we learned the concat method. This is where it comes in handy. Okay, so concat, and we're just concating the numbers to one, so just numbers 2. I think that should work. Save. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It does, because over here, like you're actually getting the console val, which is actually what we declared over here. So it's basically taking as it exists and adding it. Yeah. Okay.
अपने को सुपरमैन बनना है जरा 4 सेकंड इंतजार करना
All right. Then we can also sort arrays. So sorting. Let's actually sort. Yeah, sorting arrays. Let's sort the fruits one. Let's do fruits. So I can do val equals fruits and just do dot sort. And if I save, you'll see it'll sort it in alphabetical order.
Sort is automatically alphabet.
Yeah.
What if I did use numbers?
Yeah.
It wouldn't work?
Okay, let's sort numbers.
No, I mean like if I said val equals numbers dot sort, what would happen?
Oh, I'm about to show you what's going to happen, and it's kind of stupid actually, but so let's do val equals. You know what? I'll let you guys complete it. What do you think is going to be to sort numbers? Okay, I want to sort numbers. Well, what do I do? Val equals.
Numbers dot sort.
Just want to make sure you guys are actually following along and not just typing along. Okay, so let's sort these numbers.
It is 30. No, it's not 30.
Okay. Why is it doing that?
Because the code is wrong.
So this is actually kind of weird. In JavaScript, when we're sorting numbers, it's going to sort it based on the first digit.
Oh.
So you were saying the numbers are sorted by the first digit.
First
of the
digit.
number.
So like for example, if I had like
12.
100 and then 2 and then 34, then it would be in that order.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, here actually let me.
No, that serves as an example.
Yeah, I just wanted,
Test
It's
it.
amazing how he scrolls up and down and he knows where to type what.
let me actually create one. Let's create one called age. So const age equals, let's do 100 to 38, 45, 840, 845. Yeah, no.
So then how would you get it to be in the order of the size of the number?
I will tell you in just a moment, my young Padawan.
Can you please scroll up?
Okay,
I
now
want to see
if I
something.
sort age, no, just put any numbers. I'm just demonstrating. Just put any numbers. Okay, so in here I'm gonna do console.log age. Okay, now look at this. This is the age. Okay, it's starting at 100, even though it's not the bigger number, right? But it's sorting based on the first number. If I actually want to compare, you actually have to use this thing called a compare function, kind of. So it's not an actual function, but that's just basically what we call it when we're trying to do it, because arrays don't actually have a proper way of sorting based on the value. They just use it based on like the first digit. So
Okay.
But the first digit is always 0, you said.
the index is always 0. The index is 0. Okay, so we can do val equals age dot sort. And then inside here, I'm going to create a function. Okay, so just follow along with me here. It's going to make a lot more sense once we learn how to do functions. Okay, so we'll do return x minus y. Okay, and let's make sure that we do have. Okay, so if I save now,
Return x minus y.
yeah, you'll see now it's actually returning it in the order, right? 2, 3, 15, 42, 53, 84, 94. Okay, so now it's actually in ascending order.
You mean numeric?
Same thing, yeah. Okay. Then we can also do it in the descending order. I'll just basically take this, copy it, and then we can just do y minus x, I think would be the right way of doing it, logically speaking. So if I do it now, you'll see that it's going back the other way. Okay. This right here is a function, and we're going to learn learn these shortly. Okay, but the only reason why I'm showing it is because if we're going to actually sort numbers, I want to show you the proper way of doing it. All right, let's get into objects, object literals now. Okay, so we'll create a new JavaScript file. We'll call it 09 object literals.js. Close this one over here, come back to my HTML. I'm going to comment this out and create a new script tag. And in here, my source is going to be 09. That's what we called it, right? Object literals. Okay, come back over here. I'm going to do an alert to test it, make sure everything's working, save, and yes, it's working. Okay. Object literals.
अमिताभ बच्चन
Literals.
अच्छा अपन गाने नहीं सुनते क्या?
Hey, Noman,
But as
tell me
of
something about objects, man.
we're gonna have to be like really bored.
Guys,
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know anything.
What happened?
Okay, if I want to create an, if I want to create, huh? No, just an object by itself.
Yeah, I'm
So,
stuck on that.
so like just an object literal, right? Like you remember, like we talked about, you know, like basically like containers that are kind of like arrays, but they actually have key value pairs. So like how would I create one, or like initiate one? I was looking at your GitHub profile and I see that you were practicing stuff and you did create a few objects. So props to you on that. Okay. I don't think you understand the question. Let's actually start creating an object. We'll just call this guy a person. Okay, so it's basically a variable. So we'll say const. We'll say person. Now what I want to do is I want to create an object. Okay, an object is basically kind of like an array, except you have more information in there. Okay, so instead of just like creating, for example, like let's say that we create a list of people, and they're just people, right? Just their names. The best thing would be to create just an array. But if we want more information on a certain object and we want to give it details, that's basically where basically objects come into play. So let's create a person, okay? I'm going to start out by creating a curly brace, okay? I come down and that basically creates your object and everything else goes inside in the form of key value pairs. So let's say that this person has a first name. We'll say first name. There's my key, semicolon, space, and then in quotes, I'll put Nabil. Comma, come down and we can create the next key pair value. Let's say last name, okay? And say Hadouken, okay? Age, I feel like I'm 13.
Nice.
Email, let's say cute guy at AOL.com. So we can store multiple values for somebody. So then what we can do is that we can even put arrays inside of objects. So we can do hobbies. And we can create an array. We'll say coding, family time, and
Eating.
no, I actually don't like eating as much anymore.
Can you have two words? Does it have to be family hyphen time?
No,
Okay. Just
no. I don't know why I did that, but I just did that. And we can say, I don't know, man. I'm gonna say, yeah, sure, why not?
Why not?
Okay, comma, come down. I can even have an object inside of an object. So let's say I want address. Again, semicolon, or colon, sorry, not semicolon, colon. And I'm going to create an object inside an object by opening a pair of curly braces. Come down, and I can say city,
Oh.
Oh, nice.
Chicago. and state equals Illinois. Don't forget the comma. Then we can actually even put in a function inside an object, which is called a method. Remember that? Yeah, so basically all these methods that we've been working on that come pre-built with JavaScript, they're all basically functions that sit inside objects somewhere.
Say that one more time.
Yeah.
All these methods that we've been running, like sort, concat, push pop, shift, unshift.
Oh, back, please.
Hang on a second. I'm trying to make a point here. Like all the math ones that we've been using,
Yes.
and all the ones that we will use, these are all built-in methods. Okay?
Built-in methods.
Built-in methods. What are these methods? They're basically functions that somebody wrote inside an object, which I'm about to actually start doing. Okay, so let's say that I want to find out what the birth year is of somebody based on their age. Okay? I just simply do function. Curly braces. And we'll say return 1987. There you go, and that's a function. Or, same thing.
Oh, you can just, that's it?
This is a new way of creating functions in ES6.
Should comment that out.
Okay, this right here and this is literally the same thing. This is just much easier. I don't have to write function out. When I have a pair of parentheses
But I gotta do equals
with this, it's called an arrow function.
I have to do the
Yeah, I'm gonna get right to that. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm gonna save this. Now if I come down over here and if I open up person, you'll see that it's an array. Okay, so now that we've created our person, okay, some notes you guys probably want to write down. So curly braces define this variable as an object literal.
Mine says that I have a issue at line 6.
Oh, you need a comma right after your email.
Oh, that's where it is.
Yeah, because it's just assuming that you're just continuing from there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So inside the curly braces, we put key value pairs that are separated by commas. And functions stored inside objects are called methods. Okay, so I'm going to initiate my val.
Wait, key value paste? What? Pair
Key
that?
value pairs. Sorry. Yeah, my finger is still recovering. As you can see, it's still kind of bent and swollen a little bit.
How did you do that again?
I was playing soccer and this.
Soccer, that's right.
Yeah, just
I remember.
somebody kicked it really hard and it jammed in.
I was trying to remember how you did it.
I thought you would go to the hospital and they,
I was coding really hard, man.
Where's your brace?
Where's my brace? Oh, I had to take it off, otherwise I can't type. Yeah. Yeah, I only wear it when I'm sleeping now.
Actually, you shouldn't wear your brace when you're sleeping.
You should? Why?
Trust me, when I broke my ankle, the doctor said to take off all band-aids and braces before I sleep.
Let Val.
Okay, and this is my output. Okay. So now if I save, you'll see there's my object.
But
Okay, so first let's see if we can get a specific value. okay? And how we do that. So we're going to do val equals person dot, let's say that I want to get the first name only. I just do person dot first name. If I hit save, it's going to give me the first name, okay, from this person. Okay, so we're just doing person dot first name. That'll give me the first name. Okay. Another way of doing the same thing, but not recommended, I will say, because you're going to see it sometimes, and if you see another person doing this, make sure you correct their code because they should get slapped in the face for it. Val equals person equals last name like this. Okay, this is just sucky, you know, like it confuses the person, you know, like are we using an array or what's going on? Like don't, if you see anybody doing this, like please go and like snitch on them. Because it's stupid. And it's bad practice. Person.age, so we can also get the age. See over here is going to print me a number. Val equals, we can do person.hobbies. And if you remember, that was an array. So when I print this, it's going to actually spit out an array. Okay? It'll show me the index number and everything, have the length, all the other methods that I can use with it. So literally, this is an array inside this object, and we can do with it what we want that we can with an array. Okay? To prove that point, I can do val.personHobbies. And if I open this and if I put in 1, it's going to give me whatever item is at index 1, which is family time. Okay? Next, we had an object that was inside this object called person, and it was address. If I do that, you'll see over here, it'll spit out the address, giving me my key pair values. Same thing, just like with an array that's inside an object, we can also access the key value pairs that are inside the object that are inside that object. So in this case is going to be, let's say that I want to get the state, right? I would do person.address and then just .state. If I print that, it'll give me Illinois. Again, another way of doing this, but not recommended. I still have to show it to you because you're gonna see it. When you see it, please correct it. Val equals person dot address.
What do you tell that person? Hey, don't do that.
It'd be like, hey, dude, like, why?
Why did you do that?
Why? Okay, that's all I want to know. I just want to know why.
How about saying, dude, you know there's a better way of doing it?
They know. That's the thing. It's just like, why? Because we use this all the time. And then you see it, and it's like, dude, like, if your face was a punching bag, I would be in jail.
No, but you not address city, address state, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of doing a separate, yeah,
Okay.
right,
Just so that the
right, I'm just hitting a
example-
different target just so you can see. I'm not limited to just state.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I'm showing you this, because you're gonna run into it, and it's gonna confuse you, so just,
Okay.
yeah.
Why did you put hobbies twice? Just do the first placeholder and then the rest of them?
The
Say what
hobbies
now?
was a
Hobbies? You put
So basically what I was demonstrating here was that I can actually print the entire array called hobbies,
right.
and then by basically setting this index, I was demonstrating that we can pick out just a single item from that array.
Okay.
And the last thing that we did was that we had a method. Remember, we're going to write this just like a method. Birth, year,
I know.
and then the parentheses, right? Now if I save, it's going to print me 1987. Actually, I don't know why I put 1987. I was born in 1986. Osama, you missed a lot last week. Are you able to catch up somehow? Is it kind of making sense? Yeah, good.
ये तो सही है
Good,
ना?
good, good.
41
ये
लिखा है
तो
ना?
सही है ना?
Okay. Now, next thing I want to cover, in objects, or in object literals, we can access other properties. So the first one we're going to learn is called the this keyword. Okay, I'm going to create another person. So we'll call this person 2. And we're going to say he has an age of 32. And then we'll create a method called get birth year. Okay? This is going to be a function. And we'll say return 2018 minus age. Then I'm going to do val equals person2 dot get birth year. Okay, I'm going to save. Now I'm getting this uncaught reference error saying age is not defined. Okay, but that doesn't make any sense because I did define the age,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But that age is in that particular object, right?
Exactly. So excellent point. What you're saying is that when this is outside of this, and it's saying person2 dot get birth year, and it's saying, hey, get birth year age from where? It doesn't know from where. It doesn't know if it's supposed to look at the age that's inside this variable or if it's sitting out there in the global scope, right? So that's when the this dot keyword comes in, because whenever you're running a method inside an object and you wanted to manipulate another key that's inside the same variable, you always want to use this. So just put this dot age.
What if you wanted to manipulate the age from previously? What do you do then?
From okay, so you're saying that you wanted to manipulate the age from a different
From the
object?
person.
Yes.
From the person.
there's a different method for that, and we're going to talk about that later. But right now, I
Okay.
just want you to learn this. Okay,
Got
so the this keyword, basically what it does is that whenever you have a method that it's running and you're using a key value that exists inside the same object, you always have to use this in front of it. Otherwise, it's not going to know where to look. So now if I do this,
Yeah,
it's telling me it's not a number.
right. Which one?
You gonna type it out?
Are you kidding me?
What? That's not right.
It worked.
So, because
But
that
it's
was
not
a,
returning the 2018 minus this dot age.
No, but that's what it's doing because it's telling me the year that I'm born.
Yeah.
Because that's the
It's
thing.
doing the function.
Okay. Okay. So for example, what's your age?
23.
23. Okay. So if I do 23, were you born in 1995?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So it did it.
God.
There you go.
My God.
you're a baby.
Leave her alone.
Baby.
It's okay.
She's 9 years younger to me.
Even more than me.
क्या more than me? अपन ऐसा बोल रहे अपन है ना 45 के ऐसा कर रहे हैं
Man, you guys just make it too personal.
No, but why is it
Actually,
doing
not
that?
him. It's
I don't
me.
know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because
no.
it should work, right?
Because
What
it
do
should
you
work.
want? Tell me what you want to.
Well, this worked. Okay. Fantastic.
Well, this worked. Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay, my question is no.
Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's move on.
No, I
to
got
Okay.
it.
All right.
Stop.
Arrays made of objects,
I
guys.
swear she's a little
Function. Okay, go ahead.
Guys, arrays made of objects.
Arrays made out of objects.
Okay. Const people. Oops. Nope. 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 We're going to create an array. And then inside, we're going to create multiple objects. So let's say we want a name. And in that name, we're going to put in a string. And then we want age. And then there's going to be a number. Okay, so let's say that I want 6 of
Is
these.
it a bracket or a curly?
That's a curly brace. Okay, I'm going to take the comma off the last one because I don't need it at the last one. So let's see. It's Bob, Tim, Wes, Ray, Jim, and Messi.
Function.
We'll say, just say ages.
Capital F means zeros.
Okay, so here's my array.
Error. Why?
That's an array with objects in it.
Oh no, mine's showing an error, so I'm wondering why.
Okay, you can call them, name them, age them, whatever you want. No, one of the things that we're going to be talking about moving forward, but I want to mention this now because we're already talking about object literals, is that we can actually loop through this array using a for loop. It's very simple. Just watch me do it. Okay, for ci equals 0, I is less than people dot length. And I'm going to increment this in plus plus. So let's say I plus plus. And I want to console.log. Let's say the first name. So I'll say people I dot name. Don't worry about the syntax. I will show you each and every part and what it's doing in here.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
I'm just showing you right now that if we had an array full of objects and I wanted to print all of the first names inside this array, this is how I would do it. If I hit save, you'll see it's going to print me all the first names. Okay, so if I have an array and if I have objects inside it and they have similar key pair values like this one, I can pull those items and multiples of them at the same time.
Okay, so for that particular thing, you are creating an output. Okay.
Yeah, so the output is just right here inside the loop. Don't worry about the details, I'm just giving you exposure to this, okay? We're going to get into it in much detail.
When I was looking the thing up, I came across this. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So if you look on here, basically what it's saying is that it's saying, let's say hypothetically there's a variable called I,
Yes.
and it starts at 0,
Okay.
okay? Okay, so first we just declared this. I right now equals 0.
Yes. Okay.
Now we're saying, hey, as long as I is less than the length of all the people that you have, go through all of them until you reach the length of people. So start at 0 and go through every single one until you hit the length of people. And how do I want to increment? Do I want to skip 2? Do I want to skip 3? Do I want to go line by line? We're going to say I plus plus, which is just saying, hey, just hit each and every one of them.
Okay.
And then what do you want me to do? I want you to console log people, but just the name.
The people as an I, because I declared I as being every single line, and then just the name part of it.
You declared I equals 0, okay? And then you said, hey, I is going to be less than the length of all the people,
Okay.
okay? So let's say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically what you're saying is you're saying, hey, what I want is that I want for the people variable to start at 0 index,
Yep.
and then go down to however many length it is, meaning stop, obviously, once there's no more.
Yep.
Go one by one,
Yep.
and then print out all their names.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm assuming if you wanted to skip a line, it'd be I or just plus.
So, for example, let's say that I wanted to start at index 2, right?
You'd say I equals 2.
Right, like I wanted to start at Wes.
And it'll list everybody except the everything after that. Okay.
But since I'm starting at the first array, or the first index, it's starting all the way at the top.
Okay.
If I wanted to get the age,
Just have an age. Yeah, got that.
it would just give me the ages.
Yeah.
Okay. If I wanted just the people, it would just print the individual.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or,
All the information.
Write the objects out. So I have all the.
What if
Yeah.
you wanted to skip a line? The I plus plus would change, right? Because that's the thing that declares whether you should go to every single line, right?
Yeah, so basically that's the operator. What I plus plus, okay, what I plus plus means, literally it just means, hey, whatever I equals right now, just add 1 to it.
Okay.
So it'll keep adding. So for example,
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Keep
Got it.
adding until the length of the people.
Until there's nothing to add anymore.
okay, so what I is doing is that it's starting at 0, starting at 0,
Yeah.
and then this increment tells us to go 1 by 1
Okay. Okay.
until it hits the length of people.
Got it.
So we're saying, hey, I only stay less than the length of people. Okay,
Okay.
so like as long as the length goes more than what people already is, stop right there.
Okay.
Okay, this is a for loop.
All right.
Just giving you a very basic structure of what a for loop looks like. And there's 3 different ways to do for loops, and they all kind of follow the same pattern. There's a starting point, there's an ending point, and then there's the incrementation. How much do you want me to increment?
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's take a break.
Yeah.
Let's get started. Now let's go over date and time. So I'm going to save this, create a new file. We'll call this is 10, and we'll call it datetime.js. Okay. I'm going to come back to my HTML. I'm going to comment this out. Script src equals 10 date and time. Save. Come back to my date and time, and I'll do an alert to make sure it's working. Control save, and yes, it is. Okay. I'm going to start out by initiating a variable. So we'll do let var, like always. Or sorry, let val. And let's first of all, let's create a new date. So we can do const equals today equals new date. Okay. So if I just do this and if I hit save, and if I come down and do just
Are you
1 second.
creating a function? That's a way of creating a function.
Yeah. Let's do output. Do console. Let's actually, console.log val. So it's going to be my output, and let's change val equals today. Okay. So now if I hit save, you'll see it'll print the current time right now. Okay. If I keep saving it, you'll see that the time keeps changing. 23, 24, 26. Okay, so I first initiated val, then I created a variable called today, which is the new date, and then I set my val equal to today. Now when I console val, it'll print.
So it's a
new
predefined
date.
function, new date?
Yes.
New is the keyword, I think date is the function.
So like new is just going to keep giving me like the new date every time pretty much. Okay. Now if we wanted to, just for fun, if we wanted to turn this into a string, how would we do that? It'd be val equals today dot to string, right? And then that'll turn it into a string. Okay, but we can comment that out. Okay. Now what we can do is that we can manually change date and time ourselves. And we can do that, let's see. Let's create a new variable to let birthday. And then we can do new date. And then inside this parentheses, we can put in our own date. So let's say, let's put 9-9-1991. And then we can even put in the time like this. So 11:25, let's say, colon, and then 0 seconds. And then, oops. And then let's do let equals, sorry,
Do
not
you
let,
have to mention seconds too?
val equals birthday.
I'm writing down.
Yeah, let's just do that and see what happens. So now if I save this, it'll print September 9th, 1991, and at this time that we put in. So now it's hard-coded. Okay? What we can also do, birthday, so we can do new date, And we can even write it in as such. September 9th, 1991. Save. And then now it'll just give me September 9th, 1991 with no time. Okay? We can even do it like this. 9 forward slash, whoops, 9 forward slash 9 forward slash 1991. If we do that, still the same thing, September 9th. So there's just different ways that we can type it in, and JavaScript is smart enough to recognize exactly what it is that you're putting in. Okay. Now to get the month, we can use val equals today dot get month. Okay. If I save, it'll show me 9. That's the month. Okay, because September was what we had chosen. So just like arrays, get month is 0 based. So even though we're in October, we get 9 instead of 10 because this is index based. Therefore, January would start at 0 and the year would end at 11. Okay. So what it's doing, this right here, is just getting the month for today's day. Okay, which is October. Okay, even though it says 9, it starts again at index.
0.
Okay. So we can even do val equals today dot get date. That's another built-in method. And that will give us 14 because today is the 14th. Then we can do val today dot get day. Now this is actually giving a 0. Why? Because this is a numerical representation of the day. So on an index basis, 0 starts at Sunday, and then 1 would be Monday, 2 would be Tuesday. So your day of the week starts at 0, and your 0 is Sunday. Okay? So you might want to take a note. So this is index based. And 0 starts at Sunday. Okay? Same thing under month. I'm going to put that in there too. Index based. So January starts at 0 and December is at 11. Okay? Just put index in here. Index 0, index 11. Okie doke. Then we can also do val equals today dot get full year. That'll give us 2018. We can do, no, I'm gonna do it, just start bringing this down. We can also do, we can do get hours. So we'll see right now it's 12 something. Just like that, we can do get minutes. So it's 12:29 right now, I'm guessing. We can also do seconds. So it'll give us the seconds. And we can also do milliseconds. So that'll also give us some milliseconds. And then finally, we can do get time. We can print that. It's printing the time. I think it's counting in like seconds or milliseconds or something. It just keeps increasing. I don't know if this is counting like the seconds since like 2000 or like the year 1 or something. But it's a really, really long number and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. So now we had already defined birthday over here as this date right here. But we can also set this to something else. So if I just do birthday dot set month, if I change it to 2, it'll change it to, oops, let's do val equals Yeah, see now it changed to March, even though it was originally set to September right over here. See that? So we can change that. We can change the actual date, so we can change that to 12 instead of the 9th. Oh no, what happened? Oh, date, not day, date. So now see March 12th. And yeah, same thing. So we can change the date year, so I'll change it to the year 1218. And it only goes up to 1994. Okay, well that's good.
Set full year?
Set full year, yeah. There you go. Now it'll do it. Yeah, there you go. 1218. And then same thing, we can do hours, we can set minutes and seconds, so we can like hard code any birthday that, or any date that we've already defined. Okay, so this is basically date and time. Okay. And that's pretty much it with dates. Okay. Now the fun stuff. Let's get into operators, and then we'll get into if statements and loops. Okay, so let's start out by operators. We'll create a new file called 11 operators. Okay. I'll close the date and time. Oh, that was quick. We really ran by that. Script src, and we called it operators.js. Yes. Okay, come back over here. Let's do an alert, make sure it's working, and yes, it's working. Okay. All right, so in our operators file, let's first start out by creating some variables. So we'll create a const x, we'll call it 5, and then let's create another one called y, and we'll call this 9. Okay? Then I'm going to initialize my val, and I'm going to do an output. Which is going to be console.log val. Okay? Okay. Now let's talk about some comparison operators. Do you guys know what comparison operators are? Greater than, less than, not equal to, blah, 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 equal to, right?
Yeah.
So let's actually go over some of those that we're going to use in JavaScript pretty much all the time, okay? So I'll start out by saying operator name, okay? So let's go over the first one. The first one is greater than, okay? So again, this is greater than. Then we have greater than or equal to, which basically just looks like that. So greater than and or equal to. Okay. Then we have less than. Then we have less than or equal to. Okay. Then we have double equals, which means equal to.
Is it greater than or equal to, or greater than and?
Or equal to.
Or.
Then we have one which is an exclamation mark and an equal sign, which is not equal to. Okay. Then in JavaScript, we have a triple equals, which means equal to in value and type. Same thing on the opposite end, we have an exclamation mark and two equal signs, which is not equal to in value and type. Let me actually make the and part uppercase, because both of those conditions need to be true. Okay, let me write that down over here to less than or equal to. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Okay, now I'm just going to work in the console. All right. Now, assuming that x equals 5, which it does, okay, if I do val equals, and you guys can work in your own file actually, you don't have to do it in here, I'm just doing it in here. We can do x is greater than 5. What is that going to return? False. Why? Because x is equal to 5, it's not greater than 5. Okay? Same thing, if we do x is equal to or greater than 5, what do you think that's going to return? True, because x is equal to 5 or greater than, right? Because it's meeting one of those conditions. Okay, it might not be greater than 5, but it is equal to 5. So therefore it's true. Okay, let's do x is less than negative 50. What's that going to give me? False, because, oops, because x is not less than negative 50. It's actually greater than negative 50. If we do less than or equal to 50, what am I going to get then? True. Okay. Okay. X equals 5. That's going to be true because x does equal 5. Okay. Now here, check this out. What if I do x equals 5 in a string? That's going to return true for me. Why is that?
Because anything beyond 5 will continue.
Well, no, because 5 over here is a string. It's not a number. Right? Over here we declared that x equals 5. 5 is a number. It's not a string. Well, why is it spitting true over here?
Because of the right value. Because of the quotations.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that x right now equals a string. But we defined x as a number. Technically, this should equal false, but it's equaling true.
If the number was 4, would it still be true?
It's reading still as a number.
Okay, see the difference over here between double equals and triple equals? So it's saying that when you have double equals, it's just equal to. It doesn't matter if it's the same data type. As long as it's similar, it'll consider it as true. But with a triple equal, it's saying is, hey, this needs to be equal to in value and also in type. So if I do 6 triple equals, this is going to return false because number one, x over here is a number. This is not a number. This is a string. Okay?
Okay, we should type it in the notes.
Yeah.
Or type. Okay.
Yeah.
Or type.
Okay, so same thing going back. If x is not equal to b, that's going to be true because x is not equal to b because x is 5. Okay? Okay? So those are comparison operators. Okay? Next up, we have,
What is number 19?
what is what?
What is line 19? Asterisk plus.
Oh yeah, that's just a comment.
Okay.
Just so I can comment in here, that's it. Okay, the next ones are logical operators. Okay. Okay, so the first logical operator that we have, it's a double ampersand, so 2 ands. And basically, it just means and. Okay, then we have these things called pipe characters, which you guys have probably never used, but now you will. It's these things. You can find them on the very right of your keyboard,
It's an or.
and it means or. Then we have something as simple as the exclamation mark, and that just means not. Okay, so that's your logical operator. So let's actually refresh this. Okay, so if I do val equals,
Are those and or 60? I can't see the screen. I'm sorry.
they're ands, ampersands. So if I do val equals, I'm going to open a parentheses and I'm going to say x is less than 10 and x does not equal 5. Oops, this was supposed to be parentheses. Okay.
You have put 2 equal sign after. There should be only one, right?
No, because what I'm saying is x does not equal 5 in value and type. Okay? Now basically what I'm saying over here is that I'm saying, hey, x is less than 10. So is x less than 10? Okay, so far it's true. And x does not equal 5. So just this expression right here, is this true or false? So you're saying
It's
x
false.
is saying x does not equal 5 in value and type? Right, so therefore this is? Exactly. Okay, so now we have a condition that's true and we have a condition that's false. Put those both together, you're going to get false. So if I hit save, false. Okay, because both of these conditions have to be true when we're using the AND operator in order for this to be true. But since one of them is false, the entire expression is false. Get it? Now let's try another example. Let's say val equals y is less than 9. I'm going to say or, so the pipe characters, x is equal to 5 in value and type. Okay? So here I'm saying, is y less than 9?
Yes.
Y is less than 9?
No.
Okay, y is less than 9. So this is false right here. Okay? Or x is equal to 5 in value and type. This is true, right?
Yes.
Now here I have a false and here I have a true. But in this expression I'm using an or. So it's basically saying use either one. If either one of these is true, then it's true. True. Okay, do you guys see how these are working together? These logical
Yes.
operators and comparison operators in conjunction together? Okay? Basic math. Basic math. We're just evaluating conditions. We're saying, hey, if we're going to use the AND logical operator, both of these conditions need to be true. If there was a third and a fourth and a fifth one in there, then they would all have to be true in order for this expression to be true. Otherwise, it's just false. Okay, like one part of this expression is false, the entire thing is false. Whereas with the or, it's basically saying, hey, both of them don't have to be true. One condition can be true, and the entire expression is okay. All right? Now, this was true right here, right? What if I put a not in front of this? I'm saying, hey, y is less than 9. That's false. But then I'm putting a not in front of it, so that turns it true. Okay? So either way, this is still going to be true because both of these conditions are true, right? But over here, this one was the one that was false, right?
Yeah.
This was true, x is less than 10, but this is false because x is actually triple equals 5. But if I put a not over here, now this becomes true, and this also becomes true now because we put a not in front of it. So since both of these are true, the entire expression is going to be true. Hit save, see that, it is true. Putting a not in front of an expression that's already true is basically kind of like multiplying it with a negative.
Yeah.
Think about it that way. Okay, it'll make much more sense that way. Now we've been using equals all along, and that's basically what's considered like an assignment operator. We talked about those, right? Like the plus, minus, the modulus, right?
Yes.
Subtracting, dividing, right? Those are all assignment operators, okay? These right here are considered comparison operators, and these are considered logical operators. We've also seen actually one assignment operator called the append. Do you guys remember that when we were working with strings where we were just adding just like more to a variable that already extended, and we use this thing called an append? That's an assignment operator, just like equals, okay? Oh, and just like I++ that we were working on, that plus plus is also a assignment operator. Okay. All right, guys. Next are if statements. Yay. So save that. Let's create a new file. Say 12 if statements.js. Oops. Okay, save. Okay, it works. All right. I'm going to open up some multi-line comments. You should do too. We're going to take some notes real quick before we actually get to coding. So let's talk about if statements. Simply put, they're used to evaluate some kind of condition and then perform an action based on that condition or perform another action if that condition is not met. I know that's a mouthful, but it's as simple as I can break it down. So the syntax is pretty similar to most other programming languages. But yeah, this is how it looks. So if, and then in parentheses, we're going to open parentheses. And in that parentheses, we're going to put in our conditions, so whatever the given condition is, and you can call that whatever you want. I'm going to open up some curly braces, and then in here, we're going to do something. It can be JavaScript code, it can be a console.log, it can be anything that you want to do. So what you're saying is that if a certain condition is true, do this. What if that condition isn't true? Well, then we do else, open another pair of curly braces, and then we can do something else. Pretty much, this is how an if statement looks. Okay? So let's see it in action. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not moving away from this page yet. So I'm going to create a variable. We'll just say const id equals 100. So it's just a variable and it has a number 100 in it. That's pretty much it. So let's say I want to do if id equals 100. Okay, so this is my condition. I'm going to open up a pair of curly braces. And I'm going to say console.log correct. Because id is 100. So if I save it, it'll say correct. But what if the id is 200? Doesn't do anything. You know why? Because we didn't give it, like an action to perform if our condition here isn't true. So we'll do else, open another pair of curly braces, and I'll say console.log incorrect. Now if I save, it'll say incorrect because our ID does not equal 100. We changed it to 200 over here, that's why, right? I'm going to put this back to 100, save, and it is correct. Okay? Same thing if we do, something with not equal to. So let's do ID does not equal 100. Here, let me actually just... Okay, so we're saying if the ID does not equal 100, console.log correct. But it's not going to do that because it does equal 100. So if I save it, it'll say incorrect. Okay? This is where I'm getting this from. Okay, let's do another one. If here, let me just copy and paste this actually. So we'll say if ID equals 100. Let's actually change this to a string in here in our condition. Okay, so in my condition, I'm saying 100 as a string. Okay. Now we know that this is going to be false, so we're going to get incorrect because if it's triple equals, it needs to equal ID in value and in type, but it only equals it in
No, value.
value, because this is a string and over here this is a number. So obviously this is going to be incorrect, right? So if I save it, incorrect. But watch what happens. If I change this to not equal in value and type, and if I hit save, then it is correct, because ID does not equal 100 in value and type, because it needs to be, both of those conditions need to be true, right? Okay. Now, there's another way of actually typing an if statement, and that's including another condition called else if. Okay. So basically, if we have like a third condition in the middle, so like basically this is just giving kind of like it's either this or it's that. But if you have like another condition that you want to use, then you use else if. So let me just copy this, and let's say else if else do something else for any other condition. That's basically what an else if statement looks like. Okay, so over here we were doing if statements. Okay, now we're gonna go on to else if statements. Show you an example. Let's say that I want to do something. Let's create a let's create a condition. We'll say ID is greater than 100. Okay. So we're saying if the ID is greater than 100, console.log, your ID is greater than 100. Okay. Else, I'm trying to think about how I should say this so it makes sense. Else if there should be another condition over here. Okay. So let's say else if ID equals less than 100, console.log, your ID is less than 100. Else, console.log, your ID is 100. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Now the thing about this condition is that you can have multiple outcomes. So if your condition is that ID needs to be greater than 100, then print this. Then there's going to be, okay, well then the other option is that ID will be less than 100, then print this. Well, what about 100 equals itself? So basically what this is going to do is that if I change the ID to, let's say, 99, it'll say your ID is less than 100. If I do 101, your ID is greater than 100. And if I do 100 exactly, your ID is 100. Okay? So you have one condition that's basically saying, hey, console log this if the ID is greater than 100. Then basically this if it's less than 100. And then if not, print this out. Okay? So what we could do is that we could even say if your ID is greater than 150, let's say, and let's say less than 100, right? Now if we do it, your ID is 100. But then here's the thing. If I change this, okay, so now we've left out everything between 100 and 150. You guys see that, right? So if I change that to 125, it's still going to say your ID is 100. You know why? Because we set the condition be like, hey, if it's more than 150, print it's greater than 100. If it's less than 100, print you're less than 100. Well, that leaves us 101 to 150. And we're saying the else condition applies to everything else that's in the middle, right? So it doesn't matter literally what the ID is, as long as it's between 100 and 150, it's going to print your ID is 100. We can solve this problem easily by doing one thing, by the way.
Error.
No. Template strings. Backticks. And I'll say your ID is, and then I'll just put the dollar, open curly braces, and just put ID in here. Now whatever we put in here is going to print that out. Your ID is 125.
One sec, please.
Can you do just like console.log ID instead of writing whole that thing?
Yeah, you can do that too.
Or concatenate with your ID is plus.
Yeah, but why do you need to concatenate when you can just do template strings? It's much, much easier.
Okay.
Problem solving to the max, yaar. Okay? I'm going to change this to 150 because this is going to be greater than 150, so just so we're on the same page. Whoops. Everybody good so far? Okay. Same thing, let's do it with colors, just so we can gain some more exposure to this. So do const color, we'll call this red, and this is a string. So we'll do if color equals red, console.log color is red, right? We'll come down else if color equals blue, console.log color is blue. Okay. Else, what should we put here? Well, no. What if somebody enters yellow? Then what? Then it's going to print green.
No, then display another color.
We'll just say color is not red or blue. Okay? Now let's say, it'll say the color is red. If I put yellow here, say the color is not red or blue. If I put gangsta in here, it's going to say the color is not red or blue, because gangsta is not a color. Okay? Here's if else or else if statements in action. Let's see this in action with some logical operators. You guys want to do that? Just make it a little fun.
Just a minute.
Okay, let's create some variables. Const name equals Steve, and const age equals, say, Steve is 70. All right. So, can you guys actually, I'm going to have you do this for me, okay? So create an if-else statement. And here's the conditions. If age is between 0 and 12, print that name is child. If age is between 13 and 19, or 12 and 19, yeah, 13 and 19, print that name is teenager. Else, name is adult. So by name, I mean whoever is here, okay? So I want you guys to create a condition for me where if the age of this person, and we'll just leave this blank for now, and you can actually use it to test it. So we'll actually put let over here. And then we'll just leave that as it is, and we can add that later. So basically what I want you guys to do is that I want you to create a logical expression where if the age is between 0 to 12, print the name, and then say whoever this is a child. If 13 to 19, print that this person is a teenager, and anything else will say that this person is an adult. And I want you to use the name variable when you're using template strings, kind of like how we did over here. Okay? Can I get everybody working on that?
Yes.
And then send it to me, please. So it's pretty simple stuff. We're just creating a condition where it prints something if this person is between a certain age, and print something else if it's between that age, and then everything else for that. So let's just start from the top. So we're going to say if, and we said that if the age is between 0 and 12, so you're going to need an and logical operator. So we'll say age is greater than 0, and age is less than 12. Okay? So as long as the age is between 0 and 12, we're going to console.log backticks, and we'll say name is a child. Okay? Come back, else if. The second condition was if they're between the ages of 13 and 19, so it'll be age. I can't just do greater than because then it'll actually skip 13. So they say greater than or equal to 13. And age is less than or equal to 19. Because if we say less than 19, then it'll just stop at 18. And then at 19, it will be like the person's an adult when they're not. Okay? So there's that. Open up curly braces, console.log, and backticks. $, open braces, and here I'm going to put the name is a teenager. Else, and then this is for everything else, console.log backticks, $, curly braces, name is an adult. And by the way, when I'm coding, I'm like literally talking to myself out loud like this, just so it makes sense as if I'm doing it. Because if it doesn't make sense when you're talking it's not gonna make sense on code. So if I save, and yes, Steve is an adult. Oh, okay, that's because I didn't give him an age. So let's say he's 70. Okay, Steve is an adult. If he's 19, Steve is a teenager, right? That passes. Let's say Steve is 1, Steve is a child. Yep. So between 0 and 12, it's a child. So let's see, 12, is he still a child? Yes, he's, oops. 12, is he a child? Yes. No! Let's say less than or equal to. There, now Steve's a child. Now when I go to 13, Steve's a teenager. Okay, so this works. And this is how you do that. We can also do something with a or operator, right? So let's say that you have like a marathon, right? And people under 16 and over 65 can't participate in the marathon. Okay, so that's my condition. So under 16 and No, let's say or over 65 can't participate in race. Because if they're too young, they won't be able to finish it. If they're too old, they might have a heart attack. Okay, so let's say if age is less than 16, okay, and then I'm going to do the pipe characters, 2 of them for or. Age is greater than 65, right? So we're going to say console.log and backticks. Let's say name. Oops. Name cannot participate in 200K. I don't even know if the triathlons are that big. Are they 200K?
No, it's
No.
40.
Okay, we'll say 200 just because we're feeling dangerous.
Oh, triathlon, that might be.
Yeah, triathlon, because you're doing what, like 3 different things, right?
Yeah, but it's
Else-
still not 200.
I think what he's trying to say is keep it realistic.
Oh, well, my life isn't realistic, so what are we talking about? Name is registered for the race. Okay? So that's basically all we're doing. So if I hit save, it'll say Steve cannot participate in the 200K triathlon. Why is that? Is because he's over, or is because he's under 16. Okay? So if I change this to 18, let's say, Steve is registered for the race. Okay? So here we used an OR logical operator, so you can kind of see how it works. And let's see, what else did I want to mention? Oh, 2 more things. We talked about the ternary operator. I'm just going to go over it now since it actually falls into the if statement category. So ternary operator. So it's just basically a short way, I'll just write it down, a short way of doing conditionals. And this is what an if statement is basically a conditional. Let me mention that up there.
Can you pick that, please?
Hang on a second. Conditional. So ternary operator, again, is pretty simple. And we want to console this, so we'll just do console.log. And we're saying if ID is equal to 100 in type and also in value, print correct, or semicolon, print incorrect. And that's it. Correct. ID is equal to 100. Okay? That's it. This is just a very short way of writing a simple if statement, only if your condition or if your logic is simple. And it's basically just, kept to this. Be like, hey, given this condition, something is either true or something is false. That's basically it. That's your ternary operator. Okay. Now, if statements, we can actually, JavaScript allows us to type these without braces. I never recommend that you ever do this, but I want to show it to you just like that other thing. You might see code where it looks like an if-else statement and it's missing brackets. And this is just to show you that it can be done without it, okay? So if I do something simple as if ID equals 100, I can just come down without any braces and just do console.log correct without braces, else console.log incorrect without braces. And if I save, obviously it's going to be correct because ID is equal to 100. Okay? So that's if statements. Now let's talk about switches. I created the file. I'll come back in my HTML. I'm going to add it. And again, I'm going to be uploading the video that we're recording. So I'm going to share it with all you guys. So in case you guys do miss something, you can go back and look at it. But we got to keep moving here since we're short on time. Okay, so this was 13 switches. Okay, I'm going to save that. Come back in here. Again, this is just a bad habit I have. Actually, a really good one of making sure that everything is connected and working. And yes, the alert is working. So we're good to work on this JS file. Okay. Now let's talk about switches. I'm going to create some multi-line comments here. And we'll say switches. Include this in your notes, please. So we'll say it's another way to validate conditions and works the same way as an if statement. Okay. Now the use case for switches, in case you're wondering if it works just like an if-else statement, why are we using switches? The reason why to use this is in order to avoid repeating else if over and over again when there are multiple cases. And I'll give you an example of that as we do it. So basically what happens is that let's say that in my else if statements, I have a whole bunch of other mini cases like else if this condition, else if this condition, else if this condition. And instead of just writing it out over and over again, what we can do is that we can use something called switches to basically do that for us. So it's just another way of doing this. So let's start out with the first example. So we'll say example 1. So we'll first start out by declaring a variable. So we'll do const. What's up?
I was typing that disappeared.
Oh, okay. Const color. We'll say it equals to red.
The charger.
You can use mine. You can take mine out.
No, you can take mine out. It's not fully charged.
There. Okay, so we're going to declare a const called color, and we'll say it's red. So we're going to start out just like an if statement. We're not going to use an if. We're going to say switch. Open parentheses. I'm going to put color in here because we're working with this variable over here. Okay. Open braces. We're going to say case, and in quotes, red. So if the color equals red, colon, come down, console.log, color is red. Okay. And then we're going to come back to the next line and say break. Save. Color is red. Okay. Then what we can do is that we can create another case. Case equals blue. Console.log. Oops, this should be a colon, not a semicolon. Color is blue. And then again, we're going to do break. Okay. Now the color is still red because over here color is red, obviously, right? Then we can say default. This is going to be my catch-all, my else. Default console.log color is not red or blue. Okay, this is the same thing as we did last time with the very basic else if statement, if you guys remember. This is the exact same thing that we're doing, just basically using the switch statement. So if I hit save, color is red. Now if I go into my const and change it to blue, it'll say color is blue. Okay, but if I change it to yellow, it'll say color is not red or blue, just like last time. Just like last time, if I put gangsta, it's going to say color is not red or blue, because gangsta is not a color. Okay? Just take a good look at this, breathe it in, soak it in. This is what a switch statement looks like. And again, the use cases for this is that the only reason when you want to use this is that if you have lots of else-if conditions. Okay, you don't want it to keep repeating. This is just basically a very easy and simple method of writing it. It's organized and it looks good. Okay? Now using this, I'll give you guys 10 minutes. Can you create a switch statement that's going to print me all the days of the week? Okay, guys, are you guys ready to go over the example? All right. Okay. So first, what I would do is that I would just start out by declaring a variable, or actually initializing it. So I'll just say let equals day, since I want to find out what day I want to be in, and I can call this whatever I want. So I'll start out with my switch statement. So I'll say switch.
Shouldn't you say let day equals Sunday?
No,
Why not?
because that value is going to change based on whatever day I'm in.
Oh.
So like I don't need to hard code it. I can just leave it empty, and then just in the switch I can say, hey, change day
To whatever day it is.
to whatever day it is, and for that we're gonna basically go over exactly what it is that it's gonna be. So what is my condition? My condition is basically the day that I'm in, right? So it's gonna be new date. Obviously I need my parentheses because this is a method. And then inside the date method we also have get day. Aha. Okay, so there's my condition. I just want to get the day. Okay, now I'm going to come back and open my curly braces. Okay, so my first case is going to be simply 0 because that's the index of Sunday in the get day method. Okay, so I do colon, I come down, and then I don't have to console it. I can just say, hey, if the case is equal to 0, meaning if get day is 0, day is going to equal Sunday. I put in my semicolon, I come down, and break. Now I can repeat the same thing 6 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And just come back over here. I change this case to 1. And this to Monday. I change this to 2. Change this to Tuesday. Now this is easier for me because I've done this before, and it took me a long time to figure it out, so I went through that hassle. You're welcome. 4. This is going to be Thursday. And again, I found out how to do this through Stack Overflow. Even though they didn't actually give me the whole thing, like they kind of like walked me through. And that's the good thing about like the development community is that when you do go ask for help, they don't just give you the answers. They kind of guide you towards it, be like, okay, I'll tell you how to look for it, and I'll tell you what to look for, figure it out. Because each use case is different. You know, so what worked for somebody might not work for you. Okay, so you need to basically just learn how to do it, how to get around it, and then you can manipulate it how you want. So again, it's just something that takes practice. So I can't reiterate that enough. Saturday, okay? Then I'm gonna come down over here and I'm gonna do console.log. And again, I'm gonna use template literals because literally everybody uses template literals now. So today is, and we'll say just day, whatever day, okay? And that's it. I'm gonna hit save. And look, today is Sunday. Now if I open this tomorrow, and if you open this tomorrow, I promise you, it'll tell you that today is Monday.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I know this is very simple, but you literally just created a little mini web application that gives you the day that you're in.